AJ's trainer Ben Davison joins us now. I was just saying that anytime I have a conversation with Dewey Cooper, or whatever it is that he's trying to convince me of, I walk away from it thinking, you know what, he's probably right. That's probably going to happen. He's very, very persuasive. What's been persuasive for us with yourself and Anthony is the performance that we saw before Christmas. He seemed to have a lot of clarity about what it was he was trying to do in there, and that, you know, you should take some credit for that.
Well, the thing is, he's an Olympic gold medalist. He was a 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. He's got all of these skills already. All we've done is help him understand the tools that he's already got in his tool bag. How to use them, when to use them, how to create opportunities to use them, and just a bit more understanding with the toolbox that he's already got. Like I say, he's a 2-time unified heavyweight champion.
That's true, but for a while, it looked like he'd lost that tool bag a bit, hadn't he?
I don't think he'd ever lost the tool bag. I just think he'd lost sight of how to maximise his capabilities. He's a brilliant counterpuncher. We've seen that from way back. So being able to create opportunities where he can use that, and how he punches, false meeting false, he's got the capabilities to knock anybody out.
What are you expecting of Ngannou? Because against Tyson Fury, he was very, very patient. He was just saying, come on Tyson, you're the boxer, come and land if you want to come and land on me. Do you think he'll have that same patience against AJ?
I don't really know, to be honest with you, but being honest, I think the way that Anthony's going to go about the fight, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. I think AJ will be in control of certain situations. We're prepared for him to be gun-ho, be aggressive, and try and bring the fight. And I'll be honest, I don't think he lasts if he does that. One, I don't think his engine lasts if he approaches the fight like that. And two, I think he gets clipped if he goes about the fight like that. And if he's patient, I think AJ's got the capabilities and the skill set to gradually, systematically break him down and get him out of there that way as well.
Do you think that the main issue for you and AJ was getting his mind in order in regards to saying, believing, having validation, believing what he's got?
So there was a great conversation that we had when he first came down the gym, where we were saying to him, this is an issue, you keep doing this and this is an issue. And there was not much, but there was a little bit of resistance to what we were saying in this specific thing. Eventually coming one day, and he just said, I want to disagree, but I can't, because you've got the evidence. We record every spar, we go through fights, examples. Here, it's not, this is what we want it to be, this is what it is. It's evidence-based. When you do this, this situation often occurs. And I think that's been a massive eye-opener to him, and that's led to confidence, because he understands now.
Oh, well, why do you think that is at this stage? Looking at all the successes he's had, why do you think he's got to a point where he's not seeing what you saw?
Because I just think a lot of the time it's opinion-based. I think a lot of the time certain gyms have a style that they like to teach. We don't do that. We'll look at a fighter's capabilities and build something from there. That might be physical attributes as well, temperament, all of these things. So I just think again, clarity is a very good word, because I think that's what he's got. He now understands that certain postures, certain things that I do are going to draw certain reactions from opponents, and he's also got an answer if the reaction changes, because opponents' reactions will change. So I just think that understanding and clarity's come through, and I think that's made the difference.
Do you feel that that's more kind of modern sport now, that people are more driven by things that are just true, as in data, evidence-based stuff, like stuff that's on camera? Because I've been watching Drive to Survive the last few weeks. My wife's obsessed with it. And Toto Wolff, the Mercedes guy, always just says the stopwatch doesn't lie. You know, and there are certain things that they cannot be argued with. And is he one of those people who, does he like that kind of thing, to see stuff and think, okay, yeah? He's
a very good visual learner, so we'll have moments in sparring where contrast it really works for him. See, when you did this was what was happening. When you did this is what was happening. He learns a lot from that. I think people think that we do this number crunching, data crunching. It's got no relevance to boxing. We don't do no statistics, no nothing like that. We just look at footage, film footage. And Lee Wiley always makes a good point in terms of American football. And I think the old school in boxing is like, there's only so much you can do through film, and you can't prepare, and people's reactions are going to change. There is no more variations in outcomes than in American football. How many players are on the pitch, how many different plays they may make. But they study film. They are very big on studying film, and there's so many different outcomes that can happen from that. So if they could do it with however many players on the pitch and how many different plays that they can make, we can do it with one man standing in front of you with footage to go back and say, when you do this, most of the time, this is the opponent's reaction.
Well, people have been talking about how now there are 10 rounds to study, and you've got that, and I'm sure you're freeze-framing it all meticulously, as you talked about. But I've also heard you say you've been looking at the UFC fights as well. Tell me about that.
To a degree, but I just think they're very similar. I don't think there's a massive difference between his approach in the stand-up game to that and the boxing that we saw. And again, you know, he's going to have learned. It's another camp. What experience to have had 10 rounds against Tyson Fury on a stage like this. I'm sure he's going to come slightly better, maybe a little bit more composed. But, you know, if AJ goes about his job properly, the reality is he shouldn't be, and I don't think he will, live with Anthony Joshua.
What are the strengths and weaknesses of Ngannou?
I think one thing that we mentioned there was composure. That was something that I didn't expect to see. Obviously, his physique. Any man that is that big and that strong and punches that hard brings a threat, obviously, you know.
Weakness?
Weaknesses, lack of experience, lack of skill. And I think he's openly said that himself, you know. My will and my determination is that's what he's been saying. So I think he knows that there's a difference in levels, but any man that's that size and that strong and can punch that hard, you know, is a threat. And we have treated him with respect, like we're preparing for someone who is a world champion and of that standard and of that experience.
But just last one, you don't want to. It's dangerous to overestimate someone as well, though, isn't it? You know, you don't want to underestimate anybody ever, but you also don't want to overestimate them, because that way you might end up just not really imposing yourself on the fight and giving them too much respect.
And I think that's key. I think that's really key. And I think that's an issue that Tyson made. I think that once he got in there and felt the strength of Ngannou, I think that he probably hadn't prepared himself. I think he prepared himself physically, but maybe not mentally. And with the respect of treating him and preparing with him with respect. And I'm sure he digs, he's a true professional, Tyson. But, you know, when you're in there sometimes and you go in there with laxy-daisy mentality, it's hard to then turn it on. Very hard. It's easier to be on and then bring it down a peg or two. It's really hard to step it up. But we've treated him with respect. We've not overestimated him, but we've treated him and prepared with respect.